everyone, it's Nicole. I'm here today with Jillibean Soup to show you how you can create this fun DIY mix the media palette project and make your own kind of felt flowers too. So I have a silhouette sentiment here cut out from the Jillibean Soup designs in the silhouette store, and I have these little mini flowers you can see that are smaller than their adult size versions that Jillibean Soup sells. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how to make a few of those flowers using the felt flowers themselves. So actually the base of each felt flower has this really easy, simple, sticky back pad. So if you want to just put them on your projects, you can use that. But if you want to kind of make mini flowers, what I like to do is just take that pad off, as well as the felt base that the whole design is adhered to. To do that, honestly, I just kind of dig in there with a pair of scissors or an X-Acto knife, and you just have to really peel that off really well. It's adhered quite securely to the bottom of each of the felt flowers. This one is just like a rolled felt flower, so it's just kind of rolled upon itself. And we're just going to do the exact same thing with the same green felt to create some small ones out of the same design. But as you can see, once you kind of get it apart, it's just a matter of unrolling it. Because we're going to reconstruct this afterwards, I'm not too worried about any sort of jagged edges at this point. This rolled flower really will look fine. You won't see any of that jagged edge on the bottom, so I just go ahead with my little scissors here and I just trim that glue away as I get going. This flower, one flower will make about 4 mini flowers depending on how large you make them. So, you could leave them as is at this size, or you can just keep going. For me, what I did is I took off a part and realized I wanted to keep going. I wanted to make them even smaller, and that's not a problem. You can always join the felt flower pieces together later and make them wider if that's what you choose. So I'm just going to keep on going until I tear off all the felt that I want, until that little green felt circle is the size that I want it. And I want it pretty small, so I'm trimming off quite a bit. So that's what I'm left with. So what you need for the rest of this is some scraps of pattern paper or cardstock. I'm just going to punch some 3/4 inch circles, and I'm just going to trim off some of these kind of rough edges here just to make things line up evenly. And then you want a hot glue gun, hot and ready to go. And like I said, you just need some scissors and maybe an X-Acto knife to get your felt flowers apart. Once you have your strips, you can take a hot glue gun and just add a little tiny bit of hot glue, and be careful because it will burn you. Be careful with that hot glue. And then you just simply roll the flower back together. If you use one of the other felt flowers, it's exactly the same process. This one's just that flat kind of rolled flower, so it looks pretty easy. But any of the ones that have the loopier edges, the same process will work. And then a little hot glue at the end will hold it all together. On the bottom edge of this design, you just add a little more hot glue and stick that onto one of your circle shapes there. So I'm going to continue this, I'm going to do another one, and let that first circle dry onto the cardstock, and then just keep rolling and rolling. And again, if you wanted to add 2 smaller pieces of the cut off felt, you could totally do that, and just add a little hot glue where the 2 sections join to kind of keep it going over and over on itself. So again, you just can do this as small or as large as you want. Just what I like to do is put it on that cardstock to kind of just keep it all together and makes it a little more even on the bottom when I go to adhere it onto my wood project later. So again, a little bit more hot glue, and just stick that onto the cardstock piece. So I'm going to let that set aside and dry. When all the glue is dry, I just take a pair of scissors and I trim off the excess cardstock from when I glued those down, and you can see I have 4 tiny little felt flowers from that one. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to assemble my entire project. I have a design here from Jillibean Soup from the Silhouette store that I've cut out. You can't really see it well here, but it is white vinyl. And it's on white backing paper, so it's really hard to tell in the video, but I will show you close up later. Once you rub that really close and hard onto some transfer tape, you can see you just need to peel that off. I do use a bit of a paper piercer for some of these more delicate designs, just to kind of make sure everything is being peeled off in the right manner, nothing flips over on itself. And I like to use a scraper tool, just kind of hold things down onto the transfer tape. Again, if it's a really thin design, sometimes with the letters you might want to do that. So really gently, don't just rip this off, take your time. You want to have everything lined up nicely onto this transfer tape, and you can see just a little poking and piercing here will get that design off just quite nicely. Once you have all the words taken off of your backing and onto the transfer tape, then really all it is a matter of adhering it onto the front of your surface. Whether you're using a wood surface like I am today, a galvanized surface, even the clear acrylic, There's many, many mix the media surfaces that you can pick to adhere and a vinyl word onto. So I have mine all designed off here. Looks pretty good. And I'm just using this die cut ring that I have just to kind of line things up where I want them on my wood plank. And so I'm actually not going to keep that wood there. I'm just lining everything up and then sticking it down. So I always like to, oops, I messed up my S there, wrap over each of the letters with my finger just to make sure they're all in the right place. And I am going to use this ring just to kind of place all my items into a circle around that title. I'm not going to leave the ring there. I'm actually just using it kind of as a placeholder just so I can get the idea before I get going too far into this where I kind of want things. I also have some die cut pieces of paper to add into my designs instead of that ring. So just to kind of keep going with that leaf motif all the way through. And to be honest, I'm just perfectly lining these things up, these felt flowers from Jillibean Soup, all around my design, kind of making a ring around my project. I'm mixing up the colors, I'm mixing up the size and the shape of the felt flowers just as I go, just till I get everything kind of in place where I want it. Once I have them where I want them, I'm going to adhere them again with hot glue. I really find this is kind of the best way for me to get these onto my project. Although they already have that backing in place, sometimes the wood doesn't hold it as nicely as you'd like. So if you think it's going to be in a place where it might get banged around a little, like mine will, I like to add a little hot glue just to make sure everything is nice and secure. I usually start with the larger pieces and then just add in the smaller ones in around. And those tiny little green felt flowers that I made earlier, I'm going to add those in at the very end. I'm just going to add a few more little pieces here, making sure that you don't burn your fingers with that hot glue gun. It's very, very hot, especially the longer it's sitting there. So I kind of like how those all placed. I do want to get those pieces of pattern paper stuck down, so I'm just adding the smallest amount of hot glue in behind one little piece of the pattern paper, because when I adhered the felt flowers in place, that held it down. So here's a close-up. You can see I've added in those little green bits, those little flowers that I made. I really love how fast this project came together, how pretty it looks. It's perfect for spring, lots of fun spring colors. Hope you'll give this a try, and we'll see you again soon on the Jillibean Soup blog. Bye-bye.